Hey everyone, Jeremy here. It's Tuesday. We started this whole new thing where I'm going to be live streaming on Tuesday, and Tuesday's here, so we're going to create some art tonight. Um, I used to do it on Mondays, but I think Tuesday works out better, so here we are. Even though I'm a little rushed, I wasn't able to get everything prepared and ready to go, but you guys are used to that. So what are we working on tonight? Well, I did a charcoal picture of Cosmo the Spacedog from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and I think she was also in the Christmas special, and then kind of like some after credit scenes or in credit scenes in previous movies. But anyway, I fell in love with the dog. I love the dog. I'm going to try to do that again, but not in charcoal this time. Let's see. If we go here, I'm going to try to do this in watercolor. And as you can see, I'm really prepared. I don't even have my paints out or anything, but I'm going to give this a shot, and we'll see how it goes. If you guys are hanging out in the chat, feel free to chime in. Otherwise, I'm just going to get started. I've got a picture up on my other screen over here. I don't really know what colors to use. Like I said, I'm not really prepared. I'm going to kind of wing it. So I think there's some, it is a golden retriever. I took the time to sketch out the Cosmo here, but I don't know what colors I'm going to use. I think it being a golden retriever, I'm going to try some yellow ochre. As you guys know, I'm not an expert on colors, so I'm going to try to wing it. But I think there's some yellow ochre in there, and I think there's some, let's see, what kind of browns do I have? I got some burnt sienna. I might mix that with it a little bit just to see what happens. And I think there's also maybe some orange in there and maybe like a dab of red. So let me prepare my palette real quick. Yeah, it's been a long day for me. But, I think commitments are important when you say you're going to do a live stream at 8 o'clock in the Eastern time zone. You should be ready to go. Let's see, just a little bit of it. Now, there are some highlights here. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to do that, but just kind of wing it. Oh, I haven't opened this one yet. Give me 1 second. Put the hole in that. Hey kid, how's it going? So has anybody here seen Guardians of the Galaxy 3 yet? It's pretty awesome. I saw it did I see it yesterday? I think I saw it yesterday. Or the day before yesterday, sorry. I'm losing track of days here. But no, it's really good. Like, if you like the first two, you'll definitely like this one. I think it's better than the second one, actually. I like it. Anyway, so I'm going to jump in here and get started. I think I'll just kind of mess around and see how this goes. I really don't have any expectations here. I'm going to go ahead and wet the paper. Yeah, I haven't done a lot of watercolor, so I haven't done a lot of color pictures in general. So yeah, I think that's the issue. So I was looking at my Instagram, and I'm like, yeah, okay, some of these pictures look cool and everything, but it's awful black and white. I like black and white. Black and white looks cool, but every now and then you just kind of want to do a color picture just to break up the routine. Some of the watercolor pictures I've done have turned out all right. That horse I did the other day, I like it. Oh, well, kid, if you like any of the Guardians of the Galaxies, you should definitely go and see it. It's really good. I'm going to start with this yellow. I'm just gonna start with a lot of yellow and then kind of work from there. Because it is a golden retriever. So yeah, I think that's a good starting color. Obviously I need to add more water, smooth this out a bit. I just love how watercolors just kind of like blot all over the place. It's so cool. Like honestly, every time I mess with watercolors, I'm like, why don't I do this more often? It's so much fun. It just looks like a big mess when you first start, but so like I've mentioned in previous like watercolors, I'm mostly trying to like kind of follow the contours of it. When it dries, a lot of these brush strokes don't really like stay anyway, so I'm not too concerned about it. But for the most part, lay down, dog. For the most part, I'm trying to like if any brush strokes do stay behind, I kind of want them to represent hair. And also, I want to be in the habit of like working with other kinds of paint, not like watercolor where everything gets kind of blotted. So there, I'm actually am concerned about brush strokes a little more than I am in watercolor. Oh, doesn't look like much yet, but it'll get there hopefully. I did get yeah, I need to trim his toenails because like he just click clacks everywhere. Hopefully none of it, hopefully that doesn't come through too strong on the audio. I've tweaked the audio settings so that like I don't know, it's more like Zoom where big clickety clack noises shouldn't like be too disruptive, but I don't know. Depends on how keen your ear is, I guess. Anyway, so this dog, I don't want to throw any spoilers out there, but I guess it's fine to talk about the dog a little bit. So the dog can talk. Um, she's got this like apparatus here where it kind of like translates her talk. Um, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Up, but like the talking dog in that, it's kind of like that. She can talk, and then because it's comic books, and you don't really have to like justify anything. She also has like telekinetic abilities. She can move things with her mind, which is kind of cool. And I won't go into how that plays into the movie, but that's one of her abilities. And also, she's very funny and very sweet. So now you know everything that there is to know about Cosmo. In case you've never read a comic book, which I assume most people haven't. We all just watch the movies. We don't read the comics. I try to. I like comics. I do go to comic cons and things like that. So I try to either watch them or there's some YouTube shows where people kind of like go over the plots and stuff of comics and kind of like read it out to you almost. So I think that's good for a good base coat. Now some of this stuff needs to be like lightened up a bit. I think it might need to be more cream colored in some spots, but I'm happy with that to start, especially since I'm just getting used to learning colors and stuff. I I really think I should switch to like a round brush for the tongue. I'm trying to figure out what color would the tongue be. I think I think this red that I've got here is fine, but that's way too red. So I'm gonna. Do I have some white? Yeah. I'm gonna mix some white in there to try to like neutralize that a bit. It's way too bright. Oh, I didn't open that one either. Yeah, I'm fully prepared here, guys. Gross. Let's see what that does. There's probably like a little bit of orange in there too. I don't know. This is this is what I'm mixing up over here. So like barely pink. That's way too much. There you go. That's probably good to start. And then I can worry about like highlights and dark areas. Yeah, that's a really light pink. I like that. Wow. Sounds like I know what I'm doing. This is cool. Not very much area to move around in here. Hey Rome, how's it going? I'm trying to do Cosmo the Spacedog from Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which was an awesome movie. If you've seen it, don't throw out any spoilers, but it was really good. So I haven't decided yet if I want to do my technique where I do all the color areas and then I come back with ink. I might do that. Or I may just, try to do it all in watercolor. We'll see how it goes as I go. All right, so I think that's good to start the mouth. I'm gonna go ahead and put down some black areas. See how that goes. I'm still using these cheap watercolors that I bought at Walmart, I think. I don't know. I think that's where I got them. Until I get more comfortable, and then I'll probably move up to like a more professional set. I don't want to waste a lot of money buying, um, bunch of paints that I don't know how to use. Let's see. Okay, so the ear kind of starts there. Yeah, this is tough. Painting inside the lines. Maybe I'll use a smaller brush. But I did kind of want to do the nose, which I think is fine to do much larger. I need more water. Even though I know from experience this will dry a lot. Whoa, that's fine. Kind of got a little crazy there. Let me redirect that a little bit. I'm just going to switch to a smaller brush so I can have more control over these things. The good news is I do have an out. Like if things go kind of crazy, I can always switch to using ink along with the watercolor. So I'm going to try to absorb some of this. Way too black of a nose. So the good thing about watercolor is it is pretty easy to remove as long as it's wet. You just come in here and kind of dab that out and start that whole process over again. There you go. That actually looks kind of cool. It's got some texture to it. Kind of looks like a nose. Not exactly what I was going for, but I'll work with it. What do they call it? Happy accidents. So I do know that that's going to dry much lighter, so I'm comfortable with that. And I did kind of want a little bit on the top, but I didn't want too much anyway. Move that around a little bit. So down through here, I think is a little bit black as well. Just kind of put that down. Does kind of go all the way around. The other thing I sometimes do when I'm working with watercolor, so I got like 3 different ways to fix my mistakes until I get really good at this, is one is I use ink to kind of define lines that I don't feel comfortable painting yet. And then the other thing I do is I use colored pencils sometimes to fix color mistakes. So I might do that here. I don't know. We'll see how far the watercolor gets. It's really hard for me to judge because I don't have a lot of experience with watercolor. How it's going to turn out until it kind of starts to dry or something. So yeah, Cosmo was a like a Russian uh, dog sent into space. Like how the in the early experiments they would send monkeys into space, dogs into space, and things like that. I don't know how the full story goes. It's comics, but my understanding is that Cosmo was one of those test subjects, got sent into outer space, and I think she was like kidnapped by aliens who kind of like experimented on her and gave her like different powers. It's comics. It doesn't have to make any sense. She's just a cool character in the movie. All right, so I kind of want to put in some detail around the eyes just to get that started, even though that's kind of a brown. And then somehow I've got to put in some detail of fur. I'll have to figure that out. So it being Tuesday, how's your week going so far? I don't have to ask you like I usually do on Mondays because like Mondays you don't really even know because the week just started and usually Mondays are terrible. By Tuesdays, you're kind of starting to get into your week. You kind of know how it's going, or at least I usually do. This week has been terrible so far. Been so weird. A lot of oddities. Just kind of smudge this around. You guys see how my camera kind of like blanks out every now and then? That's kind of weird. Gotta figure that out. So another way you can work with ink and wash is you can kind of put down your ink first. I feel comfortable like following the little lines that I put in just with pencil, but if you wanted to, you can kind of ink it first and then, you know, work with it from there. I see a lot of people do that. Now that some of that's dried up, I can kind of like mop it a little bit. Kind of clean that up. Yeah, making a mess so far. Doing a great job. Um, let's see. I'm gonna use some brown. But see that's not the brown I want. Yeah, that's fine. I'll use that. My bourbon is dangerously close to my water source again. I went looking for a new palette today, uh, just because like this thing is kind of cheap and generic. I want to get like a nice little porcelain tray, which would be kind of cool. But then I thought, well, you know, you got to cart that out like when you're going hiking because I really want to do a watercolor while hiking or something like that. So then I thought different of it and just left the store without buying anything. But it was fully in my mind that I was going to buy a new palette tray. So this represents like the shadows underneath his mouth. Again, not a lot of detail here, but that's okay. We're just we're trying to get, or at least what I'm going for is I want kind of like a base coat that I can kind of work off of. So a lot of times I'll just like make a big old mess, whether I'm doing charcoal or whether I'm doing you know, pastels or watercolor or whatever. I'll just make a big old mess and then kind of form something out of the mess. So I don't feel too bad that things kind of look a little mottled here. Mottled? Yeah, that sounds good. Modded. No? Whatever the word is. It doesn't matter to me that it looks messy. I'll just keep working with it until I get the picture I want. It is fun to paint. I do enjoy the act of taking a paintbrush and putting color on the page. That is fun. In many ways, it's more fun than drawing. I feel like I have more control over the picture when I'm drawing because, like, I don't know, like working with the pencil is a lot easier. But this is a new experience for me. I'm enjoying it. Practice makes perfect. I wasn't great at drawing when I first started. Yeah, I mean, one could argue I'm not great at it now, but I am better at drawing than I am at painting. Um, but I do believe it's just, practicing. And I appreciate you guys hanging out with me while I practice. That nose actually doesn't look that bad. I know I did some crazy stuff there by accident, but I think I can work with it. Trying to deal with that big brush is probably not the best idea. These round brushes are like, yeah, see, it just blinked again. My camera is blinking. So weird. Hopefully that's not annoying to you guys. I'll take a look at that and see what's going on. At least there's no delay on the camera this time. That's good. Um, all right. I'm gonna try to get some of that color in too. Now for the color, I think it's going to be this this mouth color I did, but I think it's going to, so I'm going to move some of that over to the side here. And I think I'm going to add a little bit. This is the tough part for me, mixing colors. Oh, I am proud of myself. I mixed flesh tone from scratch the other day. Apparently, it's kind of a shade of orange with some gray in it. I'll have to show that to you sometime. I wasn't happy with the picture I made with it, but I was proud of myself that I created a whole new color just by mixing colors. So that's what I'm trying to do here. The color is kind of red, but not really red. It's more like a brownish red. Let's see. See that kind of. All right, to me that kind of matches. So that kind of, I do want to add some water to it so that it flows. I think that's close enough. Now the top of it's kind of highlighted, so I don't want to go too far into that. Yeah. Man, I just made that color. That color didn't exist just a minute ago. That's cool. See, that's the kind of stuff you get to do when you're painting, right? You get to invent colors. I mean, it's not like I really invented this color. It existed in nature, but it's pretty cool that I was able to mix it. Because I think that's pretty spot on. Spot. All right, let me get some more water in there. That's cool. All right, so this like voice box here, this is all that same color. See, this is a challenge for me, is when you don't have an easel and you're dealing with like a flat surface, controlling the brush for me is a bit of a challenge. I feel like I've gotten better at it because I don't hold my pencil that way anymore, but it's still kind of still a little bit challenging. I don't even know what color that is. Oh, that's my white. It's a color dog. I love it. So a lot of people start with like a wet on wet technique. I think there's a term for it, like ala prima something. I don't know the term, but um, I think that works really good for like blending your paint so that it gets like this nice distribution, like you saw there in the beginning, where things just kind of blotted outward. I think that's cool. But because I am doing a live stream and there's only so much time, I don't really want to wait too long for paper to dry. Like I feel like this is kind of dried a little bit, but it's damp. In order to come over that and add more effects to it, I need it to be dry. So I'm comfortable doing kind of like a more dry brush. But I think if I did have more time, I would probably try to do more traditional ways of working with watercolor. I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but I did pick up some gouache and I might use it here. Gouache is cool because it's opaque, so I can use it over this watercolor if I want to. Like if I have like a light white or something that I want to put in, which I might end up doing, but I'm not sure where. Because I want to get some essence of fur in there, but I'm not really sure how to do that yet. This is all just extreme experimentation for me. I think that looks nice. I just love this dog. This dog is so awesome. Looks like a dog so far. So what's cool is this stuff's already starting to dry, so you can see that black is becoming gray. Now, I could leave it that way, or I could come back over it with some more black, which I'm gonna have to do, obviously, on parts of the nose. And I like that aspect of watercolor. So I think for the iris is going to be kind of like this orangish brown. I'm just gonna go ahead and get started at that. I'll come back and add like white highlights later. So I'm not concerned about just putting it all in there. And then the eye itself isn't pure white on the outside, so I'll go ahead and let that bleed out a little bit. Yeah, cool. I'm pretty happy with this so far, or at least I'm not unhappy with it yet. So I use that. I think this is the brown I'm shooting for. Put like another little splotch here. Man, that camera's annoying me. So even at this point, there's enough color in here where I could just like take over and start doing ink once it dries a little bit. But I'm not going to do that just because that's my comfort zone, and I really don't want to get stuck in my comfort zone. Um, so instead, I'm going to continue working with the watercolor itself until I get the hang of it. Oh, cool. Yeah. I'm so close to dipping my brush into the bourbon because I don't know why, but I put it right here and then my water is like right here. And I'm like, every single time I get so close to doing it and I catch myself. So now it's becoming a bit of like a challenge. Like in my mind, it's like, won't I? It's one of those. I'm kind of curious myself how this is going to turn out. Like, am I going to put my brush in the bourbon? I wonder what kind of effect that would create. So you're supposed to use water with watercolor, but why not use? alcohol, right? Like, will that mess things up? I have no idea. So he's got a bit of an eyebrow here, or at least like a darker area. I would love to get good at painting pets in watercolor. That would be awesome. Like, I mean, I still enjoy doing pets more than some of the other things that I draw, that I just draw just to get good at them, like portraits or whatever. Like, I don't know, portraits are cool, but the pets are really what I'm most interested in being really good at. I like how that kind of blends together. That's a pretty cool effect. So I don't want to go too dark on this, but I think it'll dry lighter because it's still a pretty bright golden retriever. It really depends on how the light catches it. Like in the movie, um, sometimes it almost seems blonde. Other times it seems like a I don't know, kind of like a reddish mix. I had to do a double take to decide what kind of colors I should be using. This is a pretty good brush for doing hair, I think. So when dealing with watercolor, you should start with your lights, which is why I put in that base coat. Call it base coat. A lot of I think the proper term is an underpainting. Um, but I started with light there, and now I'm kind of adding in different spots that are darker. And I'm still not worried about detail at this point, like heavy detail, because I might pivot and do that with ink. Because I did buy that set of nice ink pens a while back because I kind of do want to do a lot of ink and I enjoy doing ink. So I might just do that here. But I haven't decided yet, so I'm still leaving it kind of open on which direction I want to go. Or I might come back and, add some detail with that gouache just because I had it. I'll probably do the ink, to be honest with you. Because I like how that horse portrait turned out, the horse portrait that I did. And it would be kind of cool to create a series of pictures in that style. In which case, I would have to break out the colored pencils as well. The colored pencils, I think, would be great for adding like highlights to the colors, the base colors that I'm already doing here. So I'll probably do that. It's got to be pretty dry though before I can do that. I like the colored pencils because you have a lot more control over it, and they are opaque, so they work really nice with watercolor. You can just come in and go right over the base paint. And an argument could be made it's cheating because you're then be doing like mixed media and not strictly watercolor. I mean, that's a valid argument, but also I like the effect. I think it looks cool. It looks kind of cartoony, and when you're doing a comic book character like Cosmo the Spacedog, it's not a terrible way to go about it. So I'll see. All right. So I kind of like that. I don't like this hard edge here on the collar. You can see that I don't have that straight of an like um, grip on my brush and how kind of like my lines aren't exactly straight here. I don't know. Part of that's just because I'm not used to holding a paintbrush, so I'm still trying to get my feel for it. So this kind of comes around, like I'm trying to draw like a curved line there. I wouldn't say I'm nervous doing it on camera, but maybe that's a little bit of a factor too. Not nervous, self-conscious, I guess. But I can't blame the camera because I would probably do that even if nobody was watching anyway. I mean, it's starting to look like a golden retriever to me. I mean, it still kind of looks a little messy, but I like it. I think it looks cool. I'm gonna put in some shadows, I think, around the tongue here in some spots, just so that it's not all pink. So I think something that I would like to try, I'm not going to do it now, I don't think, is to kind of do a like a underpainting in watercolor and then come back and do a painting over it in gouache. I do like gouache. I like that it's I did a test the other day and it looks terrible, so I'm not going to show it. But oh, thanks, kid. I appreciate that. You guys giving, saying things look good, give me confidence to finish the picture. There are a few pictures that I've done off camera that I wasn't happy with that I just threw away, including that gouache test. I just got my gouache in the other day, and I wasn't happy with my first picture, so I just kind of like started doing random tests on it just to see how gouache works. Actually, I'll go ahead and show it. Excuse me for reaching across everything. Let me see. So this is me practicing with gouache. So I didn't like the picture, so I kind of scribbled it out. It's gouache. It's spelled Goua, something like that. It's basically watercolor, but watercolor is transparent, and the difference is I don't know what it is in gouache. So I'm saying gouache. It sounds like wash, but it's gouache, right? And the only real difference between it and watercolor is still water-based, and you still use it like watercolor, or you can use it like acrylic depending on how dry you make it. So if you add a little bit of water to it, it's going to come out creamy and smooth and easy to use. But if you kind of keep it dry and don't add a lot of water to it, it's going to be more like acrylic. But again, like I was showing here, it's it's opaque, right? So you can see how I've got this dark area here, but then this lighter color. Oh, this is me mixing flesh tone, by the way. I totally invented that color. But anyway, you can see how it lays over the dark area. So I'm excited about that. I think that's going to be cool if I can get a picture together that I actually like. I'm excited about doing like a underpainting with watercolor and then coming back with that gouache over it because it's opaque. Does that make sense? I might not be making any sense. And I'm sorry, but it makes sense in my mind. I almost put the brush in the bourbon. Are you guys placing bets on that? You guys should be. Yeah, so it's so think of it as watercolor, mixed between watercolor and acrylic, kind of. I don't know what actually goes in it. I only learned about it this year myself, and I saw other people use it. So I was at Hobby Lobby, and they had a set again, generic student quality. It's not really nice set, but it was like $8. So I'm like, well, maybe I'll get it just so that I can do like white lines over my watercolor or something because it's opaque. The white lines will show up. So I can add things like detail and fur. I'm probably not going to do it on this picture because I think I will break out the colored pencils instead, depending on timing and stuff like that. But I do think in the future I'll I'll at least give that a shot. See if I can do details like fur and stuff. Like oftentimes on dogs the fur is just lighter. or like individual strands of fur are lighter than the other parts of the picture. So that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about getting something like this done where I'm like happy with the colors or something, and then I'm like, well, I still want to get some detail in it. Well, most of the detail's light, so how do I add that over this? You know, well, you either break out colored pencils because they're opaque, or you break out the gouache because it's opaque. You know, pick one. Either one's fine. I think either one works fine with watercolor, but you know, it is it's just choices you make as an artist, I guess. That's what I wanted to. Model that in there. Yeah, for real. Hey, Ms. Ale. Uh, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Sorry, but thanks for joining us. Yeah, I know what you mean about the Hobby Lobby. So we have a Hobby Lobby in our area, and we also have a Michael's Crafts, and I like them both. But Hobby Lobby seems to have more stuff at our store, so I really like going in there. And to be honest with you, I feel your pain. There are so many things that I just want that I know would be so much fun to work with, and I really have to like pick and choose, you know. I have to be like, well, I'm probably not going to get to that particular thing that I want to play with anytime soon, so I should hold off on buying that. Oops. Oh, that's really dark. Let me soften that up a bit. So yeah, I have to pick and choose what stuff that I get there. It's tough. It really is tough. Because I want to try it all, you know. I want to try oil painting. I want to try, you know, like I don't have a very nice set of pastel colors and stuff. I want to do more with pastels. Um, and I've been putting it off because I'm like, well, I can try to work with the few colors I've got, or I can go and get a proper set. Well, you pick and choose which ones you want to work on now. All right, so I'm gonna mix some black with some brown here, and hopefully it doesn't look so weird. Yeah, see, that's kind of washed out. Let me add some more black to it. So it's tough because through here there's like bits of fur that kind of like, this is where on a golden retriever it starts getting kind of curly. So you have to be kind of like loose with your brush strokes, I guess. And you kind of have to throw in some curves and stuff like that. All stuff that, me just just getting started with working in watercolors, I don't know how to do, but I'll figure it out. I think I know enough about the gist of watercolor to get things working. I can't say it's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun working with paint. I'm so used to doing drawings, which I still enjoy doing. You see me pretty regularly creating new charcoal pictures. It's just when I look at my Instagram and there's no color on there, I'm like, I kind of gotta switch it up a little bit. Let's try to get some color in there. And I think it turned out okay, but I wasn't completely happy with my Cosmo picture that I did the other day in charcoal. I I don't know about the proportions and so on. I don't feel like I nailed it. So I'm like, well, let me try this again. And this time in color, because I really wanted to do color the first time, but I don't know. This looks pretty dark, but I know it's going to dry lighter. What I hope I don't end up doing, and I kind of catch myself doing it, and I don't really know how to break myself of the habit or what to do differently, but I don't really want to sketch when I'm painting. Like I feel like I have a tendency of doing that. It's like I'm sketching lines here instead of like doing proper brush strokes. But maybe that's just me being self-conscious. Like maybe there's really no difference. I don't know, but I feel like I'm sketching here, and maybe that's okay. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I just kind of want like a looser style when it comes to painting. Oh, you did a color drawing today, Ron? That's cool. What'd you use? Color pencils, or did you paint? Trying to remember what kind of mediums you typically use. So I actually have two things of water up here. One is clear, and the other is kind of like where I've been dipping my brushes to clean it. So I'm putting a lot of water in here because I know that that'll make it like dry lighter. Oh, cool. Yeah. I thought that's what you were you said you used, but I wasn't sure. I didn't want to put words in your mouth. Yeah, I might actually add some colored pencils to this as I get further along. Let's see. So this is all pretty dry, and it kind of because I had so much water there, it's kind of become this mottled gray area. Putting this a little bit. So I think I can come in here and kind of I've lost my guidelines on where these things would be, but I think the nostril would be kind of like here. And if I don't use a lot of water, it should come out pretty dark, I think. But since I'm not using a lot of water, I have to be more careful about my lines. But I think that's fine. And then you kind of want to put some structure back in here. So that's kind of a like a gray now, but I don't want it to be gray. I kind of want it to be brown. So let me kind of try to put some brown in here. And it's not perfectly brown either. There's should be some orange up in there. I don't know if I can do that. I don't know what I'm doing. Oops. Yeah, heavy imposter syndrome when I'm working with watercolor. But as it dries, it's kind of looking nice. So I'm going to move into some of the details on here while that's up here drying. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. Where's my white? I want to mix some white with my black and kind of form a little bit of a gray, I think. Because she's got like a voice box on the side, like a little speaker. So I got the black here. This is the fun part for me. So I got the, this is the stuff that makes me think like, oh man, I'm Bob Ross, right? So like I've got some black, I've got some white, mixing it together to make gray. I know that's like basic art school stuff, but to me it's like awesome. This is the fun stuff when working with color, mixing the colors that you want. Um, and I think I'm getting better at it. Like I said, I ended up making that flesh tone out of three different colors. I mean, to me, that's just fun. Let me put some water here. I don't know how light that's going to dry. I imagine it's going to dry lighter than regular black. 3 out of 4 dog toes. Nice. Well, that just means you got room for improvement. I like it. You can finish up that one dog toe however you want next time. Just kind of add some white in here. Yeah, see, that's kind of cool. The other thing about gouache that I forgot to mention is that it's kind of got like this matte finish. So sometimes, I don't know, it looks kind of matte to me, but sometimes watercolor doesn't always come off as white. Not as white, is matte, it kind of comes off as I was dealing with white, sorry. Um, Watercolor kind of comes off a little bit shinier. Kind of want that to be white. So I'm going to use my paper towel a little bit to kind of, yeah, I kind of like that. Using the paper towel also gives it a little bit of texture, and it being a like a little speaker. I like that. Let's see if I can get this edge a little bit. Yeah, so your gouache is always going to come out like with a matte finish, and that's good. And I guess for the most part, so does watercolor, but I don't know. So here's a question. She's got this voice box, and there's like this little modulator thing here, like a little frequency thing. I don't know how to paint that, but I'm gonna try. So that's green. I'm trying to get that in there. I know I haven't opened the screen yet. Nope. Looks a hole in that. Gross. I don't know why I haven't opened it. Obviously, I haven't done any landscape pictures. Yeah, get some green going. I don't know if that's the right color green though. I'm gonna give it a shot. Oh, got my pen. It's not a pen, it's a paintbrush, Jeremy. There we go. All right, let me add a bunch of water to this. All right, that's a little bit dark because I was messing with that black earlier, so clean my brush a little bit. So I am not putting this brush in the bourbon, even though I am super curious about that. So let's see what kind of green I get out of this. All right, that's a good start. Yeah, let me just get that green down, let it dry, and then I'll add some more to it. All right, so actually, I think that this might be in a good position to go ahead and switch to the, I think everything's mostly dry, or at least enough of it's dry. All right, so at this point, I am going to switch to the colored pencils. And I didn't get any particular ones out yet, so let me All right, so there's going to be some white areas, so let me grab that one first. All right, so up here along the top of his head. So the thing is, you have to bear down really quick, really hard to get this to be opaque over the watercolor. But it does work. And I don't know how much this white's going to show up on camera. Um, but I can see the difference here in person. You know, this isn't, yeah, I had some black on it from before. So if I press down hard, I can get some white in here, kind of, yeah, it kind of shows up a little bit. Not all that great. And because you already have that base color there that you did with the watercolor, it all kind of blends in very well. And this is why I like this effect. And it kind of gives it this cartoony sort of look that I don't think you would get with watercolor alone. So anyway, that's just a start. I also need this color. Yeah. I might need a pencil. No, I got a pencil sharpener. Cool. All right, so hopefully this will show up a lot better. So she's got some light coming across her brow here. I had clean pencils. Looks like I've got some gunk on this from where I was doing some work before, and it's kind of like blended in. So you don't even have to be that careful with this either, because again, you've got the base color there, so everything that you put is just going to overlay that. And especially with like highlights, I'm not worried about too much detail when doing this part here. I'm just adding a bunch of areas of highlight. Same here on this ear. Now, the paper I can feel is a little wet, so hopefully I don't damage it by doing this, but I'm just adding some random highlights to the ear, and then I'm going to come back with like a brown pencil and reinforce some of those shadows. And all together, I think it's going to create something really cool. Let me get this out of the way. I think. I don't know. It did with the it did with the horse picture at least. All right. So let's set that to the side. I'll come back to that if I need to. Let me sharpen this real quick. I'll sharpen it right here on the clamp my mess later. All right. So now I think, yeah. Little pop-up thing that just popped up. So now I can kind of combine pencil with watercolor and get some of these like fur details in, which, you know, I think always kind of makes the puppy. I don't want to get crazy with them. I want the background color to kind of like do most of the work, most of the heavy lifting. But this sort of stuff kind of like puts that detail back in that, you know, I can't do in watercolor yet. Maybe somebody with more skills than me can. And I am working on it, you know. I'll get to the point where I'll skip this step in the future because I'll be using like a special textured brush or, you know, whatever else watercolor people do. But for the meantime, I kind of like doing this to add some detail to like fur. So through here, for example, this kind of got all washed out. I kind of want to put in some of the detail that makes the dog the dog. Anyway, like I said, you don't really want to go overboard using the colored pencils. Just add a few lines here, there to kind of like give the essence of fur, I will call it. Now that still feels a little wet, so I want to be careful going over those spots. Typically, you would wait until your picture is completely dry before you do this. It helps to do that anyway because you don't really know what colors are going to be there until it dries because, watercolor does dry lighter. Like through here, there's like hair that comes down and everything. Well, here on this edge, kind of lost some of that stuff that makes it look like it's actually hair flopping over. So I'll put in a few lines here. I feel like I can add more to this ear later, but I'll come back to this. Through here and kind of highlight all that. Anyway, so I'll come back to some more of that, but you can hopefully see some of the stuff going on there. Um, Here on, is this dry? Yeah. Um, I think through here, I can put in some of that information that makes it look like it's actually a frequency um, gauge, or I don't know what you would call that, like frequency band. And over here, also this one should be green too. So where's my brush? Nope, that's it. I'm gonna grab a dab of that green just because I don't want it to be all pencil. I want it to still look watercolor. Like we're using pencils for details. We don't want to look like it's drawn in pencil, if that makes sense. We're using the pencil for detail. It still should look painted. So it's a combination of the two that really sells it, in my opinion. All right. So at this point, I will probably come back with those colored pencils here in a minute. But at this point, I kind of want to switch to my markers because that really completes the effect, I think. So I'm going to use this brush marker to come in. Let's start with the eye and go from there. So at this point, when dealing with the markers, you really get that kind of like, I want to call it cartoony, but it's not exactly cartoony. It's kind of a combo. But if you take your time, this is where you can really get the detail in. That makes it an awesome picture. Or because it's ink, you can really screw things up. And then I don't know how you'd fix it. Probably like try to paint over it with some sort of um, opaque medium, like I don't know, maybe. Well, you could do the gouache, or you could do like acrylics or something like that. So, and then again, this is where things work together. So let me go over here and get my pencil set. So I can come in with colored pencil and kind of add some eye color to that. And you can actually use the colored pencil directly over the ink if you want. I don't know if that's the right color, but I think it's good. And then for the eye, I also have my white gel pens where I can come back in and add some highlights over it. And this is the stuff people love. People really love to see like the white highlights on a dog's eye because it just gives it so much expression, right? All right, so I'm happy with that. Okay, so now I'm gonna, I think I'm happy with that. I don't know if I'm happy with that. So now I'm gonna come back to my colored pencils and do some more. Just kind of working with the color that's already there. And you know, it's to complement it. It's not to replace it or cover it up or anything like that. So even if you're just doing a colored picture, like a colored pencil picture, working with watercolor as well is a great way to, you know, come in and add large areas of color without having to like do it all in watercolor. You know, they work very well together is the overall takeaway. Switch back to this. Yeah, I'm liking how this looks. I should have put in some. How much time we have? Oh, we got plenty of time. Maybe I'll add some background as well. Just little tufts of fur here and there, little bits of detail that I unfortunately do not know how to paint, you know? Like, again, I'm sure some master watercolor person who has all the right brushes and all that jazz, you know, spent $500 on brushes or whatever, can put these details in without having to rely on colored pencils. But I'm not that guy. So I mentioned when doing my horse portrait, which is where I first started messing with this particular kind of technique. The only real downside, and you can maybe see it a little bit here, it's not as pronounced, is that you do have texture to your watercolor paper that you normally wouldn't have, like when you're dealing with pencils. Typically, when you're drawing with pencils, you're doing it on smoother paper. This watercolor paper does have a lot of texture to it, so you have to be mindful of that when you're working with your pencils. Either somehow use that texture to your advantage to make it look like more convincing fur, or just kind of suffer through it. But it is there, and you know, you have to kind of work around it, is what I'm getting at. But I think that's fine, you know. Anyway, to me, especially like when you stand back and look at it, that looks like a pretty convincing ear. You know, when you get up close, you see all of the little pencil strokes and stuff that make it what it is. But so anyway, just cool little technique, I think. Depending on whether or not you're a purist, you may consider it cheating. And I'm not here to tell you you're right or wrong. It's just one more thing in your tool belt, you know. Like if you're trying to create a pure watercolor picture, you don't want to introduce colored pencils. But if you're just having fun creating Cosmo the Spacedog and you don't really care, or you don't have the skill set to pull it off completely with watercolor, and why not, right? Because I think that looks like a pretty cool dog. I had a black pencil somewhere. Where did I put that? Put that? 'Cause I think that looks like a pretty cool dog. I had a black pencil somewhere. Where did I put that? I. 'Cause I think that looks like a pretty cool dog. I had a black pencil somewhere. Where did I put that? 'Cause I think that looks like a pretty cool dog. I had a black pencil somewhere. Where did I put that? 'Cause I think that looks like a pretty cool dog. I had a black pencil somewhere. Where did I put that? 'Cause I think that looks like a pretty cool dog. I had a black pencil somewhere. Where did I put that? 'Cause I think that looks like a pretty cool dog. I had a black pencil somewhere. Where did I put that? 'Cause I think that looks like a pretty cool dog. I had a black pencil somewhere. Where did I put that? 'Cause I think that looks like a pretty cool dog. I had a black pencil somewhere. Where did I put that? 'Cause I think that looks like a pretty cool dog. I had a black pencil somewhere. Where did I put that? 'Cause I think that looks like a pretty cool dog. I had a black pencil somewhere. Where did I put that? 'C Sharpen this. So, dog doesn't have like pure black lines. They're kind of gray-ish around the eyes. So just by going lightly with a black pencil, I can kind of get some of those details in there. Little bits of fur. All right, so I'm going to use another pen. Kind of come in here and just kind of outline it a little bit to kind of reinforce that cartoonish effect. Now you don't have to go full on cartoon with this technique. You can do like an ink and wash that still, goes for hyper realism and stuff. People do that all the time. People do that a lot with like nature pictures. And so I'm just going over the pencil lines that you can kind of see a little bit with like a very fine pen. And I'm being very careful just to make like really subtle marks. Just to show like little tufts of hair that maybe get lost in the white on white. So like the outside is white and the page itself is white, and you can kind of lose the idea that this is fur by using this really fine pen and using very careful light strokes. You can kind of reinforce reinforce the fur, reinforce it. You guys can tell that I'm from Kentucky, right? Like I don't even have to say it. Gonna reinfer that force. I don't know what I'm saying. So I don't like to go crazy with the ink. I just kind of want to, put in like little subtle lines, almost almost like a sketch, really soft, really light, only where I need them. Um, and then when in doubt, don't use the ink and use a colored pencil. Like for up here, there's kind of a ridge where the other eye is. That's why you have this like little bump sticking out. So rather than doing that with ink, I'd rather do that with pencil. Pencil is like super subtle. Ink is in your face, right? So like use your ink sparingly, is my view. I feel like if you use too much ink, you're kind of overworking it. Now, some areas you can use the ink to kind of really hammer home texture. Like through here, I kind of want that ear to be very furry. So I can kind of reinforce that texture of fur with some little black lines. So this one doesn't look as cartoony as other ones, but you run that risk. So down through here, once this is completely dry, which I think is pretty close to it, I'm going to use like a brush. You guys still with me? Oh yeah, so Rome, I usually have no idea what I'm going to talk about when I come into these things. Like sometimes I have like the gist of something, like I did go see Guardians of the Galaxy the other day, so I'm happy to talk about that. But to be honest with you, I really have no idea what I'm talking about most of the time. I just kind of fill in the air. Um, I have learned that if you're doing like a live stream and you don't know what to talk about, just talk about what you're doing, right? So I'm happy to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, but like if you guys want to talk about some movies you watched or TV that you watch or something, I'm here for you guys, and you guys, help me pass the time while I'm working on this. But I don't come in here with a preset. I mean, look at how smooth that's making that line where I couldn't do it before with my paintbrush because I'm not used to holding it. Anyway, I'm happy to talk about whatever you guys like talking about. But absent of anything to talk about, I'll just talk about what I'm doing, which kind of makes it a little bit instructional, but really, guys, you should not consider this an educational show. Most of the time I'm just shooting the shit. A lot of times I'm figuring out as I go along, and when I see something that works, I'm like, oh man, that's cool, you know. Now, if there's something that I'm surprised about that works, I'll definitely point it out to you guys. I'll be like, hey, look at that. That's cool. Like, look at that eyeball right there. That's a super realistic eyeball on this Cosmo dog. I like it. So one thing I like to do, which I'm not ready for it yet, but I don't like hard edges, right? So like I'm putting in all this black around here, but I don't like how light this is. So I think I'll come back in with my brown pencil. Hey, Huli, how's it going? Yes, it's wearing an awesome, yes, Cosmo dog. Yes. If you go watch the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie, Cosmo is the best dog and is one of the characters from the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie. So that's what I'm drawing. I drew one earlier, but it was in charcoal, and I was like, oh, Cosmo should really be in color, so I'm doing it again, but this time in color. Hopefully that makes sense. Good to see you, Huli. Is Ashley doing her stream? Like I had already scheduled this, but I didn't want to cut into that one too much because it's her birthday, so she deserves all the spotlight. Let's see, what time is it? I'm glad that you recognize it as a spacesuit. That means I did a good job. Oh, she's not? Okay, good. All right, cool. I don't feel guilty then. Yeah, I fully support chilling on your birthday. So I do like this brush pen, by the way. So like it comes in a whole set. You have like all kinds of different fine pens. I only use really two. I use this brush pen just because I like the effect that it causes. It's almost like calligraphy, ick, whatever. Um, cool. Um, so I use that, and then I just arbitrarily pick another random fine liner. So this one's like it's a number 8, and it goes from like I don't know. So number 8 is 0.52 millimeters, so it's pretty fine. But there's ones even finer than this. I think this one's fine to to put in, really subtle details. It really depends on how light you do the marks. I'm just pointing out that I really like the brush one the most. So like I said, I don't like how light this stuff is now that I made all that dark, so I'm just kind of going over it with like a colored pencil. So Huli, if you just tuned in, I started with watercolor and then I'm adding some detail and making some color corrections with colored pencils. So that's what I got going on tonight. Kind of a combination watercolor slash colored pencil illustration, I like to call it. because it's not really a painting once you switch to watercolors. I mean, once you switch to water, once you switch to colored pencils, I don't know if you can really call it a painting because then it's like at least partly a drawing. So I just give it a generic, it's an illustration. But I like how this is looking. Thank you. Calli Calligraphic. Thanks, Brian. Combination of calligraphy and ink. I think my dog's about to start barking at the neighbors putting his trash out. Yeah, they're sleeping. All right, good. So again, when working with this pen, I try to keep it like very light, very suggestive rather than distracting. All right, so I think for around the mouth, this is all dry, right? Yeah. I don't want to actually touch wet paint, so I have to be careful. So again, you gotta kind of have to be mindful of the texture of the paper when dealing with these. Not so much when you're dealing with the ink. The ink doesn't really care about the texture of the paper, but these colored pencils definitely do. So what I find is kind of like a light touch going over it. If you press down too hard, you start seeing that texture a lot more. I don't know. It's just the pains of using watercolor paper and colored pencils together. Watch, I'm gonna make this really realistic mouth looking thing here. Like I can see it in my mind. That's how confident I am that this mouth is going to look super realistic. Because what I've got is the blackness of the mouth here. Okay. I'm gonna come back in with, where's my white pencil? Can I hold my white pencil? You know, I need some more bourbon. I'm starting to make sense. All right. So I had a, yeah, there we go. All right. So I got this black. I'm gonna add this white right over it. Boom. That's super realistic. And then I'm gonna add this gel pen. How far am I from the Smokies? Do you need a recon mission? Heard about that treasure hunt that is down there. But to answer your question, I was actually in the Smokies this past weekend. It's about 5 hours away. Asheville, Knoxville. Knoxville's only about 3 hours from me, and Asheville is about five. Doesn't get that much closer. So if you need somebody to go down there and look, poke around in the bushes for you looking for a treasure, I'm your guy. It's beautiful down there, by the way. I love it. I was down there for a wedding this past weekend. My cousin's daughter got married, and my dad needed to drop some stuff off with some relatives, so I helped him out and dropped in on my cousin's daughter's wedding. It was really nice. So anyway, I think that looks super realistic through there. Let's see if I can screw it up somewhere else because I'm not going to screw that one up. That looks awesome. Yeah, I'm happy with how this looks. I might actually post this on Reddit, um, to the Marvel Studios subreddit. I posted my Rocket Raccoon sketch there the other day, and it actually got up to being like the ninth post, um, which is pretty high, like on the Marvel Studios page, which is pretty popular. So I was pretty happy with that. It got like, I don't know, somewhere around 500 likes, which for somebody like me is pretty good. So I think Cosmo deserves a place on that Reddit page as well. Oh yeah, Kid would even be closer. So Kid, there's a new treasure hunt. Maybe Huli can fill you in on the details. Huli's probably like, I don't want anybody going down there and getting my treasure. Yeah, so Northeast Georgia would definitely be closer than me, but it's beautiful down there. I used to live in Georgia. My dad was in the military, and he was stationed. I don't know which one he was stationed at, but he split his time between Fort Gillem and Fort McPherson. And we lived in Jonesboro, Georgia. Well, Riverdale, Georgia, which is near Jonesboro. So um, this was when I was a kid, and I was in the Boy Scouts. So we spent a lot of time at Kennesaw Mountain. We went up to like Chattanooga a lot. It was nice. I love Georgia. Been down through Macon a lot. I love Savannah. Savannah's beautiful. Like I would go to Savannah today. Like if I had a choice of vacations, I would choose Savannah. Well, you should be scared. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. It looks like a real thinker. For those who don't know, like I'm active in some treasure hunt communities, and they're like real world breakout games, things like that where you have to solve puzzles and stuff. And we've got a pretty good group of people who are interested in that kind of stuff. And if you are interested, let me know. I'll send you the Discord link. We're kind of weird people, but if you don't mind weird people, it's you might want to join. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, like end up talking about treasure hunts a lot on here just because like a lot of us come from the same Discord group. We were all pretty active in that Forest End treasure hunt when that was out. And some of us still try to figure out like what happened with that because it's kind of like a little ambiguous on the ending. So if you're interested in mysteries and puzzle solving and things of that nature, one of these days, I think it would be kind of fun to do like a little treasure hunt through this live stream. Like I'll draw a picture that has some clues to some treasure. I don't have anything to hide at this time. Like I don't have any like gold or well, I've got some silver coins, but my dad gave them to me, so I'm not coming off of those. But you know, maybe I'll get some stuff to hide and put it out there sometime and draw some clues into pictures or something for you guys to solve them. I think that'd be kind of cool. Like especially like a little small treasure hunt. So as far as treasure hunts go, one of the big ones is the secret. That was some treasures hidden in the 1980s, and many of them still haven't been found. They were all buried in the ground, so like some of them might be lost to history because of like construction or things like that because they were all buried. Um, but the guy who hid those, he used illustrations to kind of like guide you to where they are. So there's precedent for it. There was another big one in the United Kingdom. I think that was back in the 80s too. That one was called the Masquerade, and you're looking for a golden hare, like basically a rabbit. And that one got solved, but there was like some scandal with it. Like apparently the guy's girlfriend or something like found where it was in his desk drawer or something, and told somebody else where it was. I don't know. These things always end in scandal. Like there's never like a pure treasure hunt, but it's like Indiana Jones. We're all pirates, so would you expect it to be like a pure treasure hunt? Probably not. Um, what was my point? My point is, anyway, so there's like this precedent for hiding treasure through illustrations and maps and stuff like that. So, I think it'd be kind of fun for like a drawing show to actually have a treasure hunt component to it. It would be kind of cool. So this is where colored pencils are really cool, like when you're doing like a dog's nose highlights and stuff. Sure, you can probably do this with that gouache stuff I was talking about because it's like opaque. But why not just do it with colored pencils? Is my view. I think it looks cool. Anyway, I like this look. This kind of combination. Let's see, hour and 30 minutes. Yeah, we're doing fine. Just throw in little highlights with your white colored pencil. All right, so when it comes to whiskers, 'cause I think let's see, first off, there's like, yeah, I don't want to use that one. There's like three whiskers coming off here. They're white, but, like white on white. I don't really want to put in some whiskers up there. And then I think there's like a whisker or two coming up here. And this is tough because you kind of just have to like, it's kind of like, you know, flick of the wrist or something to draw these kind of whiskers. All right, so I got those in. Now, over the colored areas, you kind of have to use these white gel pens. You might have to go over it multiple times. But that looks cool. All right. So let me clean up his mouth area and clean up the collar, and I think we probably actually have a picture. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. See, I like this. So you use watercolor to put down your big areas of color, and then you kind of like fix up some of the color, add some details with your colored pencils, and then you come in with ink to kind of like refine everything. So I don't know what colored pencils I'm going to use here for this part, but I kind of want to add some extras to the tongue. Oop, that's awfully pink. Maybe I'll go over that with white. So this is where I'm definitely fighting the texture of the paper, but I think it's fine. Let's see. So through here, there's like a little bit of gum in there. Let me grab some yellow because like no dog's actually got white teeth. They're all yellow. No such thing as white-toothed dogs. All right, so I think that's good. Let me grab this. Put some shadow to that. This one comes up. So notice I'm switching between different things. So I've got the black pencil to kind of add shadow because like doing it with ink would be too much. But here in a moment, I'm going to switch the ink to kind of like outline those teeth so that the structure of those teeth don't get lost in the shuffle, you know. And everything just kind of works together. Not the brush. It's this one. Just kind of reinforce what that tooth looks like. You don't really want to make them like shark teeth or anything like that. Don't make them too sharp. Puppy's supposed to look a little friendly. And then I think I am going to kind of outline the tongue just so that it's not like lost in there. There you go. I like that. It's not perfect or anything, but I think it looks pretty realistic. Well, it's a combination of looking realistic and looking, stylized. I think that's a good term for this. It's stylized watercolor. Maybe, maybe that's a terrible term for it, but all right. I said we'd work on the collar, but I know through here could use a little bit more fur definition. I love this dog. I so much love this dog. This dog is my favorite Marvel character, and if you guys have hung out with me for even like a little while, you know how much I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I know it's gotten some flack in recent years. Um, some of the stuff they've put out on Disney Plus isn't all that great, but I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I love comics in general, and I love this dog. This dog is my favorite. Again, no spoilers, but I mean, when you've got a telepathic dog, she's gonna steal the show. I'm not gonna tell you what happens in the show, but she definitely steals the show at several points. The movie is mostly about Rocket Raccoon, if you're familiar with Rocket Raccoon and kind of his story. It's also the last Guardians of the Galaxy movie that they're making, so it's kind of like a farewell to the actors and so on that made that show. And it's one of Marvel's. Hey, Robert G. Um, the Marvel people really like honestly when the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie came out, I didn't know who they were. I read comics, but I don't follow everything. So I didn't really know what to expect. And when I first saw that first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, I was like, man, this is like better than Star Wars. And it was, it was like Marvel Star Wars thing because everything's set in outer space. And it was just so funny and clever and very creative. It was a great show. And then, like you have so many comics to get rid of. Oh, sorry to trigger you there, sir. You have any ones with Cosmo the Spacedog in it? He's in here trying to convince me to buy his comic books. I know what's going on. I know what's going on. Anyway, yeah, so the Guardians of the Galaxy movies were like really the first introduction to like comedy in the MCU too. Um, you know, I don't know how to work with this collar. Yeah, all right, I'm gonna use this to kind of define some of that. I gotta get in some of these details. You know what? I'm gonna use the pen because I gotta make this collar work somehow. I'm gonna use this pen to create some of the structure of it, and then I will adjust whatever color I need to adjust. Otherwise, you're not going to know what all these contraptions are. Yeah, I know what you're up to. You're in here to sell comics. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just kidding. What kind of comics do you have? You didn't get those from Mike, did you? Or those? Because I know he had a bunch that he had to get rid of. Just creating some detail on this speaker box that's on Cosmo's collar. This enables her to talk. And talking dogs are just funny in general. So, if nothing else, you should go see the movie just because there's a talking dog in it, which never gets old. They did it in Up, and the dog was like, "Oh, squirrel," and I love that too. No, you didn't get Mike's. Yeah. Yeah, comics are fun to collect. You should get a booth at a Comic Con or something like that. Maybe not. Well, depending on how many you've got, maybe not like a big one or something like that. But I know in my area they've got a number of small ones that I don't know, like 50, 75 bucks. You can get a booth, maybe up to 100. I don't know. Yeah, right. I'm sure she's happy to get rid of those. They got theirs from like a storage booth or something, or like a storage locker. I think. I think I saw that. Um, try to color through here. And I'm gonna try some brown. I think that's what I need to make it look right. What time are we at? Okay, I can make this quick. I think there's like a circle on this or something. I think I'm missing one of these. I think I'm missing a detail on this, but that's okay. So there's like some white lines through here, some white lines through here. It's gonna kind of suggest these. There's a white outline for this feature. I think that looks cool. All right, so continuing along, we've got the component over here. We've got these like little knobs on them too. Put those in there. Again, these don't have to be perfect or anything, but I want to at least suggest these features. I don't mind being a little abstract, suggestive impression, whatever you want to call it. And I'm doing these like little small stretches of lines just because I don't know if I can draw like a perfect curve all the way around. So kind of did that in stretches. So there's like a white line comes across here. Let's see if I can get that. I'm going to do that with this gel pen actually. Yeah, because her collar is like scratch and dented. So, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I create the artwork to get better at it. And I appreciate the people who follow along, and it's kind of a win-win. You guys seem to enjoy it. I enjoy you guys' company, so that's great. So this is kind of like a speaker box, so I'm just gonna dapple in some holes in it. So I'm gonna dapple in some white holes, and then I think I'll dapple in some black holes as well. In between the two of those, I think you have a voice box. Let me go ahead and outline that as well. Cool. Yeah, some of the feedback I get from people is that it's relaxing to watch and, you know, helps them fall asleep, which I think is hilarious. Let's see, those in there. There's some like little white lines coming off here. I'm just randomly putting in, different features on this collar. I don't know what I'm doing. I think there's some more scratch marks coming through here. Yeah, so you got the better than me getting drunk at the bar. Yeah, you get drunk here. I've got my bourbon. I feel like Rama's seen the movie. He's throwing up a Rocket Raccoon and Cosmo emoticons, emojis, whatever they're called. It really is a good movie. If you guys have seen any of the other Guardians movies, this one's just as good, if not better than. I think it's better than the second one. It may not be as good as the first one, just because the first one was new, introduced us to like new characters and so on. Sticky Art Raid, Adventures of Blue and Orange. I like that name. I don't know what a sticky art raid is. If this is something I'm supposed to participate in, sorry guys, I don't really know. I don't know what a sticky art raid is. Thank you guys for showing up though. Sticky art raid. Appreciate the comments. So for you guys just tuning in, we're doing Cosmo the Spacedog. Yeah, apparently I'm getting raided by like an art raid. This is exciting. I have no idea what this is. But hey, cool. More the merrier. Let me know if I'm supposed to do something. Oh, you just finished the street? stream. Cool. Thanks, Blue and Orange. I appreciate it. Yeah, I just saw this movie and I'm like, man, I've got to draw Cosmo. I really do. Yeah, I think I'm almost done with this. I'm gonna add like a little bit of like maybe some suggestive color to the spacesuit, but I like it. I don't want to overwork it. So I feel like I should check out your guys' stuff. What do you guys do? Like I assume you guys work on art. Never been rated before. This is exciting. Cool. I like that. All right. So this part was done in watercolor. So let me grab that color, which was, oh, not the bourbon. Grab a little bit of that. Yeah, that's basically the color. My first rating. Yeah, my channel's still kind of new, guys. So like, I don't know what the rate is. But that's awesome. Hey, I'm up for being rated. Just let me know, like, do I do anything or do I just continue drawing? I'm gonna assume I just continue drawing. It's pretty cool. Oh, you know what? There's some additional features down here that I didn't draw in. So like in addition to the collar itself, there's like these little bands that go underneath it. So let me kind of sketch those in if I can. I hate that when you get like when you think you're done and then you look at the reference picture and you're like, oh man, I completely forgot an entire feature here. I think there's like 3 bands of that. Kind of through there. Yeah, and I think there's another one of these things over here. Kind of freehanding it in. Grab some more of that junk. Good thing these pens are waterproof, or else that would look really muddy. Yeah, I love being rated. This is awesome. I'll check you guys out, and the next time that you're streaming, I'll come in and say hi. That's cool. Man, that's awesome. I like the streaming community here on YouTube. I do follow a lot of artists and watch their tutorials and the stuff they're working on. It's kind of neat. The like sometimes in the real world, like in a town or something like that, you'll have like a like kind of a artist community where everybody kind of learns from each other, and it's kind of neat here on YouTube. You kind of have the same thing. So there's probably like a million different artists here on YouTube, but if you work in a particular medium, you know, there's some that are more well known than others, and people kind of follow each other, which I think is cool, you know. You end up learning a lot from each other. I don't think anybody's going to learn anything from me since I'm just getting started and I'm kind of learning myself, but maybe someday. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah, if you guys do streams as well, um, oh yeah. So this is Cosmo. I don't know if you've Mama Q. I don't know if you've been to see Guardians of the Galaxy yet, but this is Cosmo from Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, I'm not. So Robert, I'm not even sure what a raid is, but apparently that just happened. So that's cool. Oh, thanks, Mr. McQuackers, Mr. Mr. Crackers. Once this is saved and it goes live, I'll check out all of your guys' channels, and I'll probably subscribe to them as well. That's kind of cool. I appreciate the raid. I still don't know what a raid is, but I appreciate it. Let's see if I think I have a silver colored pencil here. Put some silver in here. Sticky art rated me, huh? What is sticky art? See, I don't even know what sticky art is. That's awesome, though. You know what it is? It's because Cosmo is a telepathic dog. Yeah, I usually stream Tuesdays and Fridays. Exactly. Thanks, kid. Kid's my secretary. I appreciate it. My press agent. You know, I probably should like mention these things. Wish I knew what the heck was going on. I don't know anything. Let's see. What else can I do here? I think I can add this one down here. This one, well, this one up here too, but that one's not dry yet. That one dry? Yeah, that one's dry now. Well, I support sticky art too. You guys are awesome. Cool. Yeah, once this gets posted and like the chat gets posted along with it, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna check out all your guys' channels. I am committing to that right now. Hold me to it. Because this was a nice surprise. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks. Well, I support sticky art now. I didn't know what sticky art was 5 minutes ago, but now it's support. Sweet. Yeah. Sorry I wasn't aware of like sticky art before. I'm still kind of new, getting my feet wet, but I support things like that. That's cool. All right, I think we're about done here, guys. I think I'm gonna add like really lightly. Let's see if I can get a clean brush here. Kind of want to add just a little bit of color to her suit, so that it's not all white. Come over here, grab a little bit of yellow, kind of just add a bit of a tinge here, which will probably dry a lot lighter, my expectation at least. Get a bit of darker on here. Oh, cool. Well, I appreciate you filling me in. I thank you. Yeah, I don't know how these things work. I'll get there though. That's awesome. That sounds like fun. Now I want to go and rate other people. This is going to be great. So you guys do this often, I guess? because like that definitely sounds like something I want to participate in. Find new and upcoming artists. That's cool. Anyway, just here I'm just adding just a little bit of like color to the suit so that it's not just all white, you know. Because like Cosmo's been up there, I think, since the 60s, just participating in outer space. So it makes sense that her suit's a little tinged. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, cool. So I guess at this point I can either add a background or just leave it as it is. But seeing how as I've been going for about 2 hours, I think this is probably a good time to go ahead and call it. I don't want to overwork it. Yeah, because I'm not really sure what kind of a background I would add. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and call this done, as much as I can. Oh, this is your first raid? Oh, that's cool, man. Or woman, I don't know which. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. I think I'm gonna participate in the next raid. I'm gonna look into that and kind of do my homework and be like, yeah, I'm gonna raid somebody too. That sounds like fun. I think just like I'm gonna add a few more details and I'm gonna call it done. Cosmo the Space Dog. Let's see, there's two little whiskers. Probably not that many. I only had I don't know, like around 450 subs so far. But I only started in January. Thank you, Huli. Yeah, I've only been on YouTube since January, so I'm still kind of new, getting my feet wet. Still learning. Hey, thanks, Stanky Art. I appreciate it. Cool. Yeah, you guys are great, man. Thanks. Let me put some highlights in the fur on the ear here. Yeah, so this is a combination of watercolor, colored pencils, and ink. Just uh, just having some fun. I think I might post this up on Marvel Studios subreddit. See what people think. See how it goes. I think there's some light areas through here as well. Yeah, I don't want to overwork it. I'm gonna go ahead and call it done. Well, yeah, so I've been posting a lot of shorts and it seems like people like the shorts and that's where I end up getting subs, you know. You only have 28. I bet you're gonna have 29 here in a minute. As soon as I get off the stream, I'm gonna go sub you. So, yeah, I don't know where the subs come from. They just show up. So yeah, do it right. There you go. Yeah, like hey, if anybody's here and they want to go check out the Adventures of Blue and Orange, see if you want to subscribe to them. I'm gonna do it. Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna end up overworking it. All right, so I am gonna call this done. Your name is your YouTube channel. Cool. I'll check it out. All right, so I am gonna call this done. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me on this Tuesday night. I'll probably be back Friday. Um, but yeah, Cosmo the Space Dog. I love it. All right. Um, so I guess I'll see you guys Friday. Have a good one.